Hey everybody, welcome once again to Psychology Flipped with Mrs. Clemens. And as always, remember, keep calm, study psychology, woot woot. All right, this is the fourth and final part of our body and behavior series. And right now we're going to be talking a bunch about the endocrine system. I have to tell you, this is like one of my favorite animations because this is my brain on some occasions where it just like leaves my head and goes far, far away. All right, so the endocrine system. So no, now we're not on the brain. We're talking about a different, the nervous system. Now we're talking about a different body system. And this is a system that sends chemical messages throughout our body using hormones. And so we have a bunch of glands. Now, in terms of what we need to know, for us in psychology, we need to know about the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus. We really, for us, we don't need to know anymore. But, we really do. We've got all kinds of stuff going on all around in here in terms of hormones that are going. Obviously, you've got some that are specific to women, some that are specific to men, things dealing with our activities, our energy levels, all kinds of stuff going on in here. All right, so sorry, this is a big slide for notes. But yeah, so what does our endocrine system do? Definitely has a big part in mood. Anytime you're talking about hormones, definitely talks about our mood, growth, why some of us are taller than others, why some of us are shorter, why some of us are skinnier or fatter. Development, tissue function, what is the purpose for this? There's obviously a reason why women have breast tissue when men don't. Metabolism is really huge and also goes into energy level, sexual function, reproductive processes. So this is a very important system, obviously biologically, but it does come into a lot with our behavior. So our center for control is the hypothalamus, which is located in the brain, and our pituitary glands. So like I said in the last slide, these are the only two you really need to know about. We do talk about the thyroid gland, and though it's in your neck, and it is really important to your energy levels. So if you have an underactive thyroid, you're the kind of person that you look at food and you gain weight. You might be very lethargic, not have a lot of energy. Whereas if you have an overactive thyroid, you're the kind of person that you can eat an entire pizza all by yourself and just be like, oh, I'm still hungry, and not gain any kind of weight. And maybe you might even have some problems with that, though, where your heart is just racing really, really fast. You feel like you have a lot of energy, but, it's not good to be going that fast all the time. Oh my God, you are not writing this. But yeah, there's a bunch of different hormones. You could go on to Wikipedia and just kind of look at all the different ones. The big ones, that you guys probably have heard of, like adrenaline. That's a thing, especially, that might happen when you get called on in class and you get a burst of adrenaline, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Or, definitely playing sports and stuff like that. We've got things dealing with blood pressure, growth hormone. You hear about that with athletes and stuff. Evidently, I love The Simpsons. Well, I do love The Simpsons, but it is funny that a lot of my animations are The Simpsons here. As we're kind of going through and sort of relating some of this stuff back and studying how biology can impact our behavior, there is a field of study called sociobiology, and so they study the biological basis of social behavior. So for example, and you don't have to write this, but they did this study back in 1975 where they're kind of looking at similarities between humans and different primates, and they take care, it's not something where they just hatch a kid out of an egg and then just leave them alone. They have long-term year care out of them, male dominance over females. And evolutionary psychology kind of goes into some of that that we talked about when we were looking at the big 7 perspectives. All right, so now, we're very early into our study of psychology here, but so we've talked a lot about how nature can influence things. And so as we go through, there's this major debate in psychology. What causes some of these disorders that we talk about? So what causes somebody to have schizophrenia? Is it that you're just born with it? You biologically have some sort of something wrong with your brain? Or is it nurture, that, it's something how you were raised? Is depression, that chemical imbalance? Or did something happen to you to cause it? And so there are some things that are pretty easy. Like if we look at post-traumatic stress. Oh, well, it's kind of in the name. You had some sort of stress. That's nurture. That's something that happened in your life that caused that. But nature might have a part of it, that if both of us, you and I go through the same kind of event, we're held at gunpoint or something, that, well, you don't develop PTSD, but I do. Maybe there is a nature component to it. Basically, what the end idea is that for the most part, it's, there's a balance, or there's at least both components in just about everything, that nature and nurture are parts of kind of what makes us who we are. The one real way, because remember, psychology is a science, the one real way to be able to kind of study to make things a little bit more definitive in terms of a decision is twin studies. And you want to have identical twins. Why? Because they have the same genetic makeup. And so what you're going to do, you're going to be doing an assignment where you're going to be looking at all these different twin studies, and you're going to be saying whether it's nature, that it's their genetic makeup, whether it's an injury, biologically, whether it's an injury to the brain, whether it's a chemical makeup, whether it's their genes, that they got from their parents and the grandparents. Is that the cause of whatever the issue is, or is it nurture? So like right now, I'm a part of your nurture, not a very big part because you're almost adults and, I'm only seeing you for 40 some odd minutes a day. But yeah, guys, I'm part of your nurture, part of your experiences. And so I love this quote by John Watson that kind of puts this whole idea of nurture into perspective. So he's a strict behaviorist. He basically says that he can kind of control anyone through conditioning. And so he says, give me a dozen healthy infants, well-formed, and my own specified world to bring them up in, and I'll guarantee to take any one at random and train him become any type of specialist I might select. Doctor, lawyer, artist, merchant, chef, and yes, even beggar man and thief, regardless of his talents, penchants, tendencies, abilities, vocation, and race of his ancestors. This is a really crazy statement. He's basically saying, I don't care, as long as the child is healthy, I don't care what race, I don't care what gender, that if I have total control over them, I can raise them to be anything. I can raise them to be a neurosurgeon, or I can raise them to be a serial killer. And I want you to think about that for a second. Do you think that's really true, that if you were raised differently, that you could be anything? I always joke that I'm not good at math, or I have a horrible memory. Well, do I have a horrible memory because my mom has a horrible memory and I just kind of accepted it as being okay, or she didn't work with my memory as much? And maybe I could, like I always say, I couldn't be a doctor because I couldn't do everything I need to memorize, for all the parts of the body. Well, if John Watson raised me and worked on me, could I be that? I don't know. But it's definitely something that I want you to think about. Maybe it's something you want to put in your blog. Well, folks, that's the end of body and behavior for this unit. So I hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you have any questions, make sure you ask.